I'm gonna close my eyes, I'm gonna open, I'm gonna press. Okay? Oh my god!
7K dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We'll be checking out Mythical Awakened Bael, and I'll be using her in two different teams, Magic Team and Universal Team, to give you guys a contrast. But before that, we are going to look at her gear. The gear I'm using now is actually for the Magic Team first, because for the Magic Team we are using a crit setup, okay, rather than a different type of setup, which we will talk about later on for the Universal part. For crit setup, because I want to increase the status cast rate, you can of course go with crit and lethal, that is completely fine as well. I've given her HP as well for more bulk, and for her jewels I've given her increased awakening gauge because she takes longer to charge her awakening gauge, and it also comes with status cast rate 6%. This doesn't overlap with the one you see below, which is on the reflect immunity jewel. Okay, reflect immunity because I want her to not die too fast, and then she also has crit and lethal rate increase with lethal damage substats, myth substats. Okay, so this is kind of a more damage oriented kind of build for her. But as we know from her passive, she doesn't really need to use her skills for damage. For the accessory, I've given her Guardian Ring, which is pretty important because she will die pretty fast, and also the evasion. And for her traits, I've given her 2 resistances, Paralyze and Silence, as well as status cast rate increase, because I just want her to land the isolation more effectively. No fighter soul for her, so with that we're gonna look at the first team. This is the first team. Credits to Yamaki yesterday, who told me to use this team during the live stream. It worked really well, so I thought I would love to feature this team on the video as well. Okay, it really uses the defensive front line, okay, with Rudy and Rangrid, with the 2 DPS, magic DPS in the back. So overall, I think you guys want to know the verdicts for Bael. Okay, Bael is very good. I think a lot of top players are using her already. She is so good. The passive itself, once you get her to level 44, you know, makes her very usable in so many different teams, which is why you can see I'm using her in Magic and Universal. If you don't have a level 44 Bael, I think it's better to keep her in the Magic team, okay, because of her utility in the skill set for the decrease in buff duration. But with level 44 exclusive item where she is able to decrease defense of all enemies by 50%, you know, that really increases her utility and usability a lot more. But for her regular skills, for her passive actually, she is able to reduce all damage taken, has an 80% chance to apply isolation when attacked, and also survives on 1 HP and does HP swap. Her awaken skill, as you just saw, does eliminate. Unfortunately, nothing happened because I think they were on skill nullification. So that is one bummer which you may face if your Bael is actually a little bit too active, okay, or hit too much, and then you will realize that her awaken skill comes out too early, and that doesn't go well for you. Now, as you can see here, this is where the tide of the match changed. And I really want you to keep in mind what has been occurring during this entire match, whereby I have been applying isolation over isolation over isolation on the enemy because they keep touching Bael. And when that happens, you know, this isolation just continuously prevents them from doing much to me. And with Rudy, I have a lot of bulk, so even their regular damage is not that much. I can still take it. Apart from that, she does apply isolation on her awaken skill as well, which is a bonus because then everyone on the enemy, you know, on all enemies, this is a 5-man isolation for the first time in the game. Apart from whatever that has been released. Eve had a 3-man, Chip had a 4-man, Orly also has a 4-man isolation, but Bael is the first hero with a 5-man isolation, which means if your enemy is able to rotate between their skills, they will practically do nothing to you for like 5 turns. Yeah, that's crazy enough. And she just has HP swap, okay, which is usually cut by Fenrir, but since Fenrir is so rare in the meta these days, it's very likely she will get her HP swap done, as you saw previously as well, and this really increases her survivability by a lot, okay? And the more, you know, they counter and touch her, she is basically not going to receive much damage. Coupled with anti-skill nullification, you can be even sure that you're not going to be receiving much damage. It just occurred to me that skill nullification and isolation could be counterintuitive because with isolation, you are already causing the enemy to do less damage. If you have skill nullification, then you don't really need the isolation, so vice versa, right? So yeah, sometimes it kind of doesn't go really well together, but if the RNG is good for you and you time it properly, you could get a lot of damage reduction. And you saw just a while ago 1000 magic damage effect attack happening. To be able to kill a Rudy straight off the bat is pretty impressive. So here we face an offensive team. I'm very pleased with this team because there are many times when the tide just completely changed into my favor, even though I'm about to lose. And let's hope this is the case for this match as well. Because as we know, see, the fire just goes off the Agnes Flame. And I think one of my heroes, Rangrid, is actually dead. So there's no more defense boost for my front line except for my Rudy. One thing that I realized is that Bael actually counters Rudy as well, because Rudy does buff the defense of the team by 50%. So if your enemy has a Bael, there is no increase in defense. And that's, you know, not the best situation, of course. So the decrease in defense is something that, you know, since pre-reboot, it was very powerful. People were using that, like heroes like Ace, you know, with that in the passive, people are using him on the team just for that. And Bael has it now, so I can really foresee that many people will run Bael in their teams regardless of whatever team it is. Not too sure whether she'll work well with a 3-man offensive team, but I can foresee that, you know, it could be a possibility for sure. This team actually had Fenrir, but he didn't seem to do enough damage to me because of all the isolation and skill nullification, so my Bael didn't have to proc the HP swap, and he died earlier than that, so that's completely fine. So even if there's a Fenrir on the side of the enemy's field, you know, it doesn't mean that HP swap is completely gonna be cut off. If you are able to survive longer than a Fenrir, then, you know, you can always turn things around. But this fight is super annoying and keeps casting Agnes Flame on me, but thankfully I managed to survive to the end, and you see that she's actually still alive. Here we face a magic team, but this is the meta magic team with the Judas and Rangrid. So again, if you have the ambush set on Rudy, you know, it's gonna be very good for you. You straight off reduce 3 buff duration turns, okay, which means all the Guardian Rings will be removed on your next turn, and that is gonna be super efficient for you. I think this was the case, I'm not too sure, maybe not. I did reduce 2 turns, right? So think about it, if you reduce 2 turns, and then on the next turn, I think everything should be gone, because 1 turn already passed, so 2 turns left and then you reduce 2 turns. Again, I'm not too sure about the math. I'm not too sure if you really need 3 turns, but 3 turns is definitely good for other effects as well, such as enemies hide, you know, all the resistances they could have. Like reducing 3 turns from the start is gonna be very OP, and that could be something you can use for Bael as well. Right, so Bael can actually use the ambush set as well. Some people may go for the blessing set because she is a pretty decent damage healer, I would say. So blessing could actually allow her to do more damage, but ambush set is pretty good because she does have 2 skills that reduce buff duration, right? So that will actually allow her to reduce 2 turns when she uses her skills. You can also go with the Storm set, which is something we'll talk about later on when we look at her in the Universal team. Now this was quite frustrating because she's gonna use her Eliminate, right? And the Ante revives. This was super annoying. And unfortunately, it's just how it works. It doesn't completely just remove the enemy from play, you know. It doesn't remove the target from the battle, it's just an instant kill. So for heroes like Ante, they're not exactly a factor, and I can foresee that many people will probably try to push their Ante's attack higher so that they can, still get revived anyway and continue the battle, rather than allowing Bael to completely eliminate another enemy. That would not be so good. But you do realize one thing is that Bael could potentially change her targets, because she does have a formation change effect on her top skill. So if you manage to shuffle the enemies such that one of the other enemies besides Ante goes to the back, then you have a chance to eliminate that particular hero, because the elimination targets the enemy with the highest attack. This is the universal team, and I'm using Bael as my speed leader, not my counter hero, because counter should always be on able. But for speed leader Bael, I given double speed, double HP, increase awakening gauge and speed attack, reflect immunity same with status cast rate, as well as skill use chance with lethal rate. You can give her crit and lethal, but I decided to try something new. I wanted to try whether skill use chance could actually allow her to get her awakening gauge much faster or earlier, so that we can actually see it work. And of course I'm using Ru and Judas and Wukong here with the crazy Abel and Ante. So unfortunately we don't get to see her effect attack going off. Hopefully we do get a chance for that later. This team is actually also pretty good. Again, I think Bael just works really well with any hero, and furthermore this will support the damage output that you do. As you can see, Ante does hit pretty hard, and that's also because of the reduction in defense from Bael. And if you can imagine, having this up with someone like Abel who's gonna counter like a truck, it's gonna be pretty crazy. Unfortunately, my Abel doesn't have full storm set, so you cannot see the full blast of his effect attack potential. But if you do have an Abel with the full storm set, you couple that with Bael, I assure you your counter attacks are gonna do so much. Yep, that is some pretty good damage. Unfortunately, again, elimination is completely prevented by the skill nullification by Ante, so sometimes it always happens that way. Like maybe because of the skill use chance that caused her to get her awakening gauge a little faster. So maybe without the skill use chance you can actually push, delay the awaken skill such that it will happen a little later in the match. And sometimes I realize when it happens when there's only one hero left, you pretty much get the free win, unless the hero is Ante of course and she revives. But most of the time she could be eliminating another immortal hero, which is pretty good. Ante is really the bane of arena. Oh my goodness. I mean thanks to the isolation I didn't take damage, but still her survivability is just way too much. Like the whole match is being dragged on because of her. I feel like even Judas is not that difficult to deal with, but because of Ante, it's just super long. You might think that matches are gonna get faster, but no, not really. And Bael finishes off the battle. Unfortunately, we don't get to see Bael's opening again. Thank goodness for debuff removal though. So are there counters for Bael currently? I think Fenrir is one of them, and technically you could bring her down pretty easily if you continuously target her. All your counter heroes are basically counters to everybody because they hit so hard, and Bael is actually not that tanky, I would say. Oh, there you go, there you go. She completely reduced someone's HP to 1 just from one effect attack. I think that's Ante actually. I mean, just very good. So we kill off Ante here. Not yet. No, that was Yon. He is. Okay. Unfortunately. Okay, Yon, he's dead. Yeah, so thanks to Bael's effect attack, that made light work of the enemy. So actually, you know, if you do have a complete storm set on Bael, it could work. It really could work with her counter Bael as well, because she has HP swap, so you don't have to worry that much about her who's gonna get eliminated. Judas. Yeah. So you don't really have to worry too much about her dying too fast. She will have survivability somewhat. Yeah, so you can go with counter if you do have a full storm set. I think that would be very interesting to play with. So she's a very flexible hero, and I think the design for her is just really good, you know. And we haven't had a hero with such... I would say Chip was really nicely designed, but somehow he just doesn't work that well because maybe, I don't know, his stats are just a little low. But for Bael, somehow it just works because passively she is good already. So if she survives, then even better. I think the passive is the one that really makes or breaks the hero. And for Chip, his goodness lies in the skills, right? His skills. So if he doesn't use his skills, then you won't have much out of him, which is unfortunate. I would still love to try a full isolation team though with Chip. Hopefully, you know, we get something out of that and prevent revive as well. Yeah, she doesn't really take much damage in the front as well, so that's actually a good thing. I'm not sure who is preventing all the... Oh, there we go, there we go! Okay, not as powerful as I expected, but maybe because she's only level 44. Yeah, so but she took off the Willful Ring effect of the Judas already, so if the enemy doesn't cleanse, I am pretty sure I could kill off the Judas, you know, just in a short period of time. And this enemy team uses Bael as well, so it's going to be a pretty interesting contrast to see how both Baels work in practice. Especially the damage output, you can actually compare to see whether the enemy does do a lot of damage to me. And maybe from there you can then decide whether you want to have a hero like Rudy. Okay, he does a lot of damage to me on the counter. Whether you want to have a hero like Rudy to actually increase the bulk of the team, and with that help your overall survivability. Unfortunately, my Bael is just... she just got her awaken skill too early, so I couldn't eliminate anyone again. And if you do have reset awaken skill, you know, that's also pretty good. So the initiate stem set then comes in. So it really depends on how you want to build her. There's so many options you can go with, even the fortune set to give her more bulk, you know. Here she's gonna do an elimination on me, and I think it's gonna be on my Judas because my Judas is at the back. And that's also... did she change my formation? I think she did. Yeah, obviously she did, because my Judas wasn't at the back in the first place. So yeah, unfortunately Judas had to go. I guess it is what it is. As you can see, she is taken down already. So that is what I meant by she is a little frail. I mean, after all, she's a magic hero. So if you do have a very strong counter unit that can take her down fast, it's possible to kill her. And unfortunately, I lost to a mirror match. So let me know what you think of Bael, and if you have actually put her and tried her in the arena. Big shout out to my channel members, ZMD Phoenix, Yamaki Hibiku, and Reggie Bautista for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much, and see you!